Shortly after leaving his kingdom, Siddhartha cut his waving hair and exchanged his royal robe for a simple dress. The prince asked his charioteer Channa to bear a message to King Suddhodana that Siddhartha had left the world to walk with a beggar's bowl in his hand. Still, the majesty of the prince was not well concealed under the poverty of his appearance. His posture exposed his royal birth and his eyes beamed with a fervid zeal for truth. All the people who saw this unusual sight gazed at him in wonder. There was no one who did not pay him homage. Having entered the city of Rajagraha, the prince went from house to house silently waiting till the people offered him food. Wherever Siddhartha came, people gave him what they had, they bowed before him in humility and were filled with gratitude because he condescended approaching their homes. Old and young people were moved and said, "This is a noble monk. His approach is bliss. What a great joy for us." King Bimbisara, noticing the commotion in the city, inquired its cause. When he learned the news, he sent one of his attendants to observe the stranger. Having heard that the monk must be a Sakya and of a noble family and that he had retired to the bank of a flowing river in the woods to eat the food in his bowl, the king was moved in his heart. He donned his royal robe and went out in the company of aged and wise counselors to meet this mysterious guest. The king found Siddhartha seated under a tree. Contemplating the composure of his face and the gentleness of his deportment, Bimbisara greeted him reverently and said, "O monk, your hands are fit to grasp the reins of an empire and should not hold a beggar's bowl. I am sorry to see you wasting your youth. Believing that you are of royal descent, I invite you to join me in the government of my country and share my royal power. The desire for power and wealth should not be despised by noble-minded. To grow rich and lose religion is not a true gain. But he who possesses all three, power, wealth, and religion, enjoying them in discretion and with wisdom, him I call a great master." The Blessed One lifted his eyes and replied, "You are known, O king, to be liberal and religious, and your words are prudent. A kind man who makes good use of wealth is rightly said to possess a great treasure, but the miser who hoards up his riches will have no profit. Charity is rich in returns, charity is the greatest wealth, for though it scatters, it brings no repentance. I have severed all ties because I seek deliverance. How is it possible for me to return to the world? He who seeks religious truth, which is the highest treasure of all, must leave behind all that can concern him or draw away his attention and must be bent upon that one goal alone. He must free his soul from greed, lust, and desire for power. I recognize the illusory nature of wealth and will not take poison as food. Will a fish that has been baited still covet the hook, or an escaped bird love the net? Would a rabbit rescued from the serpent's mouth go back to be devoured? Would a man who has burnt his hand with a torch take up the torch again after he had dropped it to the earth? Would a blind man who has recovered his sight desire to spoil his eyes again? The sick man suffering from fever seeks a cooling medicine. Shall we advise him to drink that which will increase the fever? Shall we quench a fire by heaping fuel upon it? Pity me not, O king. Rather pity those who are burdened with the cares of royalty and the worry of great riches. They enjoy them in fear and trembling, for they are constantly threatened with a loss of their possessions, and when they die they cannot take along their gold. I have put away my royal inheritance and prefer to be free from the burdens of life. Therefore, try not to entangle me in new relationships and duties nor hinder me from completing the work I have begun. I regret to leave you. But I will go to the sages who can teach me religion. May your country enjoy peace and prosperity, and may wisdom be shed upon your rule like the brightness of the noonday sun. May your royal power be strong and may righteousness be the scepter in your hand." The king, clasping his hands with reverence, bowed down before the prince and said, "May you obtain that which you seek, and when you will obtain it, come back and take me as your disciple." The Blessed One parted from the king in friendship and goodwill.